This is Joyce Tice, and I'm talking to Francis Murphy of Tioga. Francis has a long history in the area, and there are several things I want to talk to him about. One is the Twain Theater, in which he was very actively engaged for a long time. One is his activity with the Tioga County Grange. I know you were active in that too, Francis. And I want to talk to you about the roller skating rink and your career as an actor. That's a lot, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Let's start with the Twain Theater. Tell me how you got started there.
Well, how I got started, it really started in the cellar of my home where I lived.
In Tioga?
At the time. Because I had a movie theater in the cellar.
Wow.
With my little silent XL projector.
What year was that?
Oh my goodness, it was back when I was a kid, back in the early 40s.
Okay.
And I would show a newsreel and cartoons and a bigger cartoon, if I had it as a feature like that, to the town kids. And my dad got mad one day. They never encouraged me. Anything I wanted to do, they said no. So one day he said, well, if you're going to show those silent pictures to the townspeople, you might just well do it professional.
Wow.
And that's all I wanted to hear. Well, I had it. The movie screen was my mother's wooden frame that she made rag rugs on. The front was designed exactly like the Twain Theater because that was the only theater we ever attended when I was a kid. And that was our Saturday night special for the week. So the front, where the movie screen was, there was a little platform there, and the curtains were wired up with a homemade track that I had that ran, the rope ran clear back past the furnace where the projector was, and the music was supplied by a crank record player. The seats were the small barrels, the wooden barrels, like what you would find up here in the pharmacy that they would keep.
Oh, okay, okay.
And, the lights were Christmas lights up over the foundation to the house. And my mother wanted to kill me because I cut a hole in her root cellar for a ticket office.
Oh, wow, you were certainly destined for the theater.
And when they said I could do it professional, that was the end of it. I still have that projector. And I have an 8mm, and I have a film strip projector. I have a Bell and Howell sound projector. And I have an Ampro sound projector.
Where did you get the films?
Well, they were what you could buy out of the catalog.
Really?
Back those days.
And you had enough money to do that. Did you charge a ticket?
No, I didn't charge anything. We just played.
But you had to buy those.
Well, yeah.
Don't thump the table. You're shaking the camera
Oh,
here.
did I? Well, they...
how much did the films cost then?
I don't even remember. They were just cheap.
It was probably your whole allowance. If you had an allowance.
I didn't get one.
I didn't either. I mowed lawns. How about you?
Well, I mowed lawns, yes. That's how I put myself through school.
Yeah.
But that's how I got started.
Wow. And that's amazing. And then when your parents said you could do it professionally.
Well, in the meantime, 1946 and 47, Robert Harrington, who was the projectionist at the Twain Theater, and Richard Reamer from Wellsboro rented the Grange Hall in Tioga and put a movie theater in there because there is a projection booth. Because
you showed it to me when I was there.
Yeah. And so I ran the movies. Dick Reamer was the manager. Bob Harrington took care of the money, and my sister was the box office girl. And so I ran the movies. And then when Bob Horton I always say Horton when I'm supposed to say Harrington. He absconded with the money
Oh dear.
and left Dick holding the bag for all the equipment and everything.
Oh my gosh.
So out of that, I got the movie screen as my pay, and I got a 1,000-watt spotlight, and I got 4 of those baby spots that are in the ceiling now that I use on the mirror ball. That was my pay for running the projectors.
Wow.
So when that closed in '47, can't even remember what month, I went to Mansfield. I was invited to come up there and train, because you had to train 300 hours.
As a projectionist.
As a projectionist. So I went up, and Bob Harrington was working there. He was the projectionist.
Isn't he the one who ran off with the money?
Yeah, and he's the one that trained me. He trained me. And one day I came in to, my usual training day, and Bob didn't show up. So Harry Taylor was the owner. He came into the projection booth, and I didn't have my license. You are going to have to run the movie. Bob has not showed up. So I said, okay. I said, well, I'm running it without my license. He said, well, that's all right. I'll stick up for you. So anyhow, I started running the picture. Everything went fine. The very end of the reel, at those times, those reels ran through 90 feet per second, 24 frames. 24 frames per second, 90 feet per minute.
Wow.
I meant to say. And
that's pretty good quality.
yeah. And right at the end was a girl sitting at the old-fashioned makeup table with a big mirror like this round table, putting on her lipstick. I made the changeover, everything went fine, but the next reel, she was upside down. Well,
Seamless, absolutely seamless.
Harry Taylor had a big booming voice, and you could hear him through the entire theater laughing. Well, I was so upset. I had to shut the movie down, take the film out, and rewind it, because it always came into the theater tails out. And then the projectionist would run it through his fingers as he rewound it by hand, checking the sprocket holes and all that to be sure there was no bad spots. Well, while one reel was running, I had to do that to all of the reels to be sure they were head out.
Not part of your training, was it?
No, that wasn't part of my training. But Bob Harrington had come in that day drunk.
Oh dear.
He was quite a drinker. He came in drunk, and he put the show together. And that's why it was upside down. And he didn't come in that night, but Harry Taylor fired him right that night, that instant.
Yeah.
And I took over.
And when did you get your license?
Oh, that year. Back in 1947. But I got my license. And that was the one worst thing. And then in later years, one time, that's when his son had took over after Harry had passed away. Louise, Harry's wife, ran the theater. She owned it. And Bill Taylor, her son, ran it. And he was in school to be a doctor. And he said to Bill Wainick, if it gets chilly in here, he told what degree, to turn on the furnace. Well, we came in and it was cold. So we went down cellar, and Bill says, I will tell you when to throw in the match. I said, okay. So he says, okay, and I threw the match in. Well, the furnace blew up. Thank God the sides blew out, or it would have gone straight through the projection room, the ticket office, everything.
And there was a woman in there.
Yes. Rose Bunn was in there selling tickets.
Wow.
And as I raised up, the fire door went past my head, just missed me. It's a wonder it didn't kill me.
Well, it is.
And well, we were so shocked. And it took me, I had to wash my face 3 times to find the white.
Wow.
Because I was so black from the
I
soot.
wonder it didn't damage your eyes, too.
I know. But come to find out, the automatic shut-off didn't work, and the gas had built up all summer long.
Wow.
But you couldn't smell it.
Wow.
Because of the draft from the furnace.
Now, tell me about some of the other people you worked with at the Twain.
Well, I can't even think of her name. Mary Jane Wilson was the box office. She was the ticket seller at the time, and she did the bookkeeping. And you have a picture, I think, of that was taken from the book of the swimming pool.
Yeah.
One kid was also the popcorn helper at times.
Is that Ed Bailey?
Yes, and then he did the delivering of the posters. Because
just going to throw this over here.
back then we had a route that we had to go to put out the window cards, and that's what he did. Later on, I had to do it, but then there was one guy that did the popcorn. Joyce Beach was the popcorn lady. Later on, Rose Bunn was the box office attendant and took care of the books up in the office. And back 57, 58, 59, I managed the theater for Bill Taylor while he was in school.
Uh-huh.
I would do the putting the ads together and taking them down to the penny saver, delivering posters and cleaning the theater. Once a month, I had to vacuum the back of the chairs and wash the seats and mop the floors. And I even had to go down cellar and hose down the cellar.
Wow.
Where the furnace was.
Uh-huh.
Because you went down a trap door in the men's restroom.
Wow.
to get to that part of the cellar. And I'd have to hose that down to keep the spiders and cobwebs and stuff down.
Uh-huh. Now that was built, correct me if I'm wrong, when that was originally built, it was the Star Theater.
Yeah.
And then it became the Rialto in the 30s, not for very long.
No, that's right.
And then Harry Taylor and Mr. Swain bought it, and that's where the Twain name came from.
Right.
Well, a lot of people, Twain, we know Mark Twain, a lot of people
I know
always thought, oh yeah, it did.
They confuse it, yeah.
Yeah.
But it had nothing to do with Mark Twain. But it came from those two names. Mm-hmm. Because Harry Taylor bought it and he was the principal owner. So they used the T and then Swain, the W-A-I-N for Swain. And I think his name was Harry, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
There was a Mr. Swain who had a children's orchestra. I have a picture of Mr. Swain's children's orchestra in the 30s. I wonder, and I think maybe he had a music store. Is that the same person, I wonder?
I have no idea.
Okay. Probably is, because there weren't a lot of Swains around.
Yeah. And then the theater was remodeled by Harry Taylor. And in the summer, I had to take the stage curtain down and put up a blue one that had a fleur-de-lis pattern in it, in white. I had to put up that curtain and change the lights from red to blue and green.
For the summer.
For the summer.
That was just a decorative thing.
It was a decorative thing, but the lights in the projection room, the switches made it, because we had a 10-watt green and a 25-watt green and a 10-watt blue, and it would look, when you turned them off, so that you had the blue running lights running during the whole show, it gave the effect of a dimmer.
Okay.
And then in the wintertime, the green lights changed to red, a red 10 watt and a 25 watt red. And the stage curtain was changed. I call it the stage curtain, it was the front grand. Had to be changed to the same pattern as the blue one, only it was in red.
And they must have been heavy.
They were, because they looked like silk.
Uh-huh.
But it wasn't, it was a damask.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, they must have weighed hundreds of pounds.
They did. I had to climb the ladder and carrying that up and hook it up, and
Wow.
and they were 17 feet long.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Mm-hmm. So that the only thing that used to bother me is when Bill Taylor. He had a Ferrari, one of these little sports cars. He would drive into the lobby and park that thing in the lobby, and I'd already have the theater cleaned for the day, and in he would come with muddy tires on that red and white tile floor in the lobby. Then after he'd leave, I had to clean the lobby floor again.
Now, why did he do that? Just showing off?
Just a place to park the car so nobody'd
In the
steal
lobby?
it. In the lobby.
During operating hours?
No, not during operating
Oh, okay, okay.
No.
All right. All right. Well, that makes a small amount of sense then.
And then when I was in the service from 1952 to 54, I served all of my time in schooling and my service time at Fort Knox. So while I was there, I ran the movies off and on at Theater Number 1, that's the main theater, and Number 10, which was the theater in the area where I had to live.
Was that on the base?
On the base.
Uh-huh.
And they were the same projectors that I ran here.
Well, that was not a bad military
No.
service then.
Well, I was a field wireman.
Okay.
This was when I didn't have anything in the evening to do, and they needed a projectionist. They would call me.
Great.
And then not only that, but I just can't remember. I've made some notes here. About the films. We booked the books. Oh, I used to book the films for the college too.
Oh, did you?
When I was managing, I would book the films for the college, and if their projectionist wasn't available, or if I couldn't get one, because Dick Reamer used to run the movies. He didn't have a regular job. He went from running the movies at the Grange Hall. He went and worked for the Shine Circuit in Corning, and worked himself up and was sent to Buffalo or some of the other big theaters, but then he gave it up after a while. I had that same opportunity, but I had a good job here and a good salary. I would have had what salary I would get there for the Shine Circuit. I would have had to rent a room
Sure.
and eat out, and I figured I was all right where I was.
Sure.
So I stayed.
Nothing to gain.
No, I didn't have anything to gain. But I used to run the movies at Strawn Auditorium for the college.
Now, my parents used to go to the movies once in a while. The one time that my father would be sure to go was when they had Ma and Pa Kettle. He loved Ma and Pa Kettle.
They filled the theater.
I bet they did.
They sure
There was
did.
always a line all the way back to the street.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, we used to have cartoon shows. The town would have cartoon shows we sponsored the ones for Christmas and Easter, but the town used to sponsor the one for Halloween.
Uh-huh.
And we would have 3 or 4 cartoons and a Three Stooge comedy or a small comedy if we could find one in the booking. And we had a show at 10 a.m. for town kids and 2:15 for I misspoke there. 10 a.m. for out-of-town children. And I have that twisted. Goodness sakes, can't even read my own writing. 10 o'clock was for the town kids, and 2:15 was for the out-of-town kids, and usually the charge was only 25 cents.
People still talk about it. interview or talk to people who grew up in Mansfield, they still talk about those kiddie matinees. They just loved them.
Well, we had, back then we had shows at 7 and 9, and sometimes on Sundays they were 5, 7, and 9.
Okay.
And but some shows, if they were extra long, would run one show an evening, such as the Ten Commandments was 14 reels long.
Wow. Now, one of our local women, Carrie McConnell Beardsley, used to go to the movies, and she kept diaries. I have about at least 5 years of her diaries. And she records every movie she saw at the Twain. And
So did I.
Did you?
I have them down home, but there's a few of them I missed. So, like this one here, I know I saw it and showed it.
South Pacific.
Yeah, but I couldn't find it in the book, so apparently I didn't
They
write it down.
record it. Yeah.
Because I got to the point where I could recite the dialogue as the show was running.
You read it 3-4 nights and you're 3 times?
Well,
Or a week?
I can't remember whether it was Gone with the Wind. One of those shows, we showed 14 shows.
No wonder you could recite the article.
I can still recite. I can still recite. The one there about. Frankly, I don't give a damn.
Well, everybody, yes. Frankly, my dear.
Yes, I can still do that one. That's about all I have on the Twain Theater.
Well, that's very, very helpful. Now.